Yes, my name is Mahan Tahvildari. I'm a PhD student at the University of Catholic University of Murcia in Spain. Um, I'm doing my research in the digitalization of wealth management. This research paper is part of a series of other papers in the field of robo-advisory. I just wanted to define quickly what robo-advisory is. It's actually the automation of wealth management. So in the run, to substitute classic human advisory, financial advisory, financial um, investment advisory um, by by robots, by artificial intelligence, by automated models that invest clients' funds, manage them, allocate it, dynamically adjust it to the market phases, situations, monitor it with all the complex financial mathematical models and risk management and rebalancing strategies and reporting and so on. Robo-advisory emerged after the financial crisis in the United States after 2008-9, and a few years later, about 2013-14, it spilled over Europe and later Asia. Um, in this research we investigate the adoption of artificial intelligence in the robo-advisory market and Germany. Why Germany? Because Germany was one of the first countries in Europe that where the banks and fintechs, or financial technology companies, adopted robo-advisory services. It's still one of the major markets, sub-markets in Europe, next to the UK. And there are many the market in Germany is very fragmented. We have in another research we found out that there are that we did last year in summer in 2024, where about 45 robo-advisory providers, each with different models, different client segmentations. So it's many of them are services by traditional banks, but more are small companies, just financial technology companies that established these services. And the market is growing about 8% per year in the last few years. So the prognosis is that it will accelerate in the next 4 or 5 years. So it's very interesting how the disruption is how disrupted this technology is in the wealth management industry, because there's much impact. Also, when you consider the assets under management, which are is about 20 billion assets under management, for example, only in Germany. Worldwide, there's more. I mean, I think trillion, three, one. I don't know the exact number. More than $1 trillion. In this research, we made a research of the adoption of AI through two methods. One of them is a classic website research and the investigation of regulatory documents, white papers, and every public document that provides information about the models and methods that the robo-advisory services adopts. And we did a survey by sending emails to all of the robo-advisory services in Germany, or the 45, and gathered all the collect all the info, whether they actually use AI or not, and to what extent. And lastly, we we did 2 interviews with CEOs of 2 major robo-advisory providers in Germany, and yeah, made a classical qualitative content analysis, and yeah, I've driven some conclusions that about the background. So yeah, you have some numbers. The global robo-advisory market is about $2 trillion by 2025. So it's a very big market that is going to be disrupted by all this automation, digitalization of and the yeah technology like yeah, generative AI, or in general artificial intelligence used in yeah, different processes, from yeah, customer onboarding to yeah, to create investor profiles and allocate based on the profile, which is called investor profiling process, to recommended portfolios and then to manage them. The subject of study is here, yeah, simple sample frame of 45 German robo-advisories. We got responses from only 10 robo-advisory services, but in addition to that, the websites and the regulatory documents, because we are here in the EU, so they have, according to MiFID II, there's the regulatory yeah, rules that because it's a financial service provider, and we have gathered here yeah, enough information about the services used, especially in AI. And lastly, we have a deep dive CEO interviews with 2 firms. So the research gap. So we actually, the actual research gap is that we don't have, as far as I know, studies how AI is adopted in robo-advisor services. And the robo-advisory providers, most of them, they don't talk about it, or they don't use it yet, actually. And there are many questions how AI can be integrated into this service, what the impacts are, considering personal costs, or efficiency in process, or R&D, or client support. So there are many questions from practical perspective, also from academic perspective. For example, about the trust issues from clients, if they trust their money a robot, a computer, and not a human. So there's much potential here for doing research and to test it also in practice. The objective of this small study is to give a state of the in what extent the current robo-advisors in Germany, the leading market in Europe, are adapting AI, and what are the challenges, the opportunities, and what recommendations we can formulate for them to improve their services through the integration of AI tools. I will skip the state of the research because actually the main state of research points are that from other studies in this field are that we do not know how AI is used in this field. There's quite a black box how the AI is used. Many services providers do not outline the exact methodology. There are regulatory issues, for example, like from the EU AI Act, that restricts the use of AI in many of financial services. There are many studies that focus on trust and adoption of artificial intelligence in general in investment advisory, but they can be they can be supportive for the study or for how to build AI and how to communicate through AI with clients. But this research, yeah, and it considers the only the adoption and actually how we can integrate this into the robo-advisory services. So the databases are the 45 robo-advisors operating in Germany as of summer. It's June 2024. We gathered all the relevant documents from these robo-advisory providers, screened them, and found out that in addition to it, we sent emails to all of them and have analyzed the responses, made two very long, deep interviews with two CEOs with many questions about the current AI integration and what potential it has. The website research. After that, we did a descriptive analysis of all the responses, how many of the robo-advisory providers adopt AI, and in what extent, what models, and which processes and phases, and also the qualitative content analysis of the two interviews. So these are actually the methods. And lastly, we did in addition, a small SWOT analysis and formulate some strategies from the SWOT analysis for improving the services with the help of AI. The first result we got from the responses of the survey are that only 10 of the survey and of the website researches and research of all the regulatory documents that publish the models and methodology of the robo-advisory providers, that only roughly 10% of the robo-advisories in Germany use AI. So we have about 90% don't use AI yet, as of summer 2024 at least. And there is very sparse self-disclosure because there are not many robo-advisory providers that give information about the concrete methods, probably because of the competition, or they don't want that exact models are published. Most of them answered that they don't use AI and they don't plan to use AI, which is very interesting. And when we consider what the progress of AI in this field is, there are however, there are few robo-advisors that use AI. For example, Kirin uses a chatbot, but which is not very impressive because many chatbots are old tools, and they are applied in many areas of business. And there are some of the robo-advisors that use AI for portfolio construction and rebalancing, only few, which is very interesting. For example, Late Advisor use big data analytics to rank funds, about 10,000 funds. But there's also a human team, risk management quant team, who is overseeing and monitoring the funds. There are a few robos that use a hybrid model portfolio construction, so they combine some AI methods like like machine learning methods to detect market phases and generate trade signals. So constructing a portfolio and rebalancing it. However, in the end, we see that you're not there's much potential to apply AI in the services, and only a few robo-advisory have already done that. So it's more experimental. It's unclear what the results are because many of the services, we did a performance analysis in another paper, which is in press. We saw that about 80 to 90% of the robo-advisory they underperform against simple benchmarks. So in a study made on the databases between 2015 and 22. So it's very hard to beat the benchmark or the market or boring ETFs. And maybe AI can change that. So that's also a motivation for it to at least when you look at the performance, maybe to react faster to market dynamics. And in addition to that, also to reduce costs, by substituting personnel by AI agents who are communicating with the clients or doing risk or rebalancing strategies or management. The interviews, we did 2 interviews with 2 CEOs of German Robo-Advisory, and most of the findings were a little bit anti AI. So they are really it's really hard for them to use AI in their services because of, first of all, regulatory issues. It's unclear how they can use it. The uptake is still minimal, so there are not, they say, not many machine learning engines that are useful, or they can train on the data to use it in their services. There are many challenges how to be transparent and the communication with the client and the personalization. So currently is much more not much advanced adoption according to the CEOs. Also, when they talk about the market as a whole or the competitors, and this is also aligns with the descriptive results that only 10% of the robo-advisory services adopt somehow in a minimal way or few phases processes in the services AI. So there are strategic differences between the robo-advisory services. We did a SWOT analysis and see there are strange of a few robo-advisories that use AI. We can see there's a faster reaction to market signal, but how to what extent we need a long-term analysis, maybe 3, 4, 5 years, to measure if they perform better than other services that don't use AI, because it's we don't have long-term data now. But most of them, the 4 or 5 robots that implement AI implemented last year actually, or 1.5 years. So it's we don't have the sufficient databases for it. There are many opportunities, especially in client communication. For example, chatbots, or also ESG screening, also combining it with hybrid models. We have weaknesses like very high implementation costs, and also limited trust. The trust factor is very important, especially for German investors, but in general, we have regulatory issues. Those are actually, we can see that as threats because the EU is very conservative on AI. So we can expect that there will be more regulatory restrictions in this field, especially in financial services. We don't know what the implications are when the market is changing in the long term with maybe new external factors that are not trained before with the machine. For example, shocks like the war in Ukraine we had, or Corona. So these are shocks that is very hard to model mathematically, these shocks, and give them to AI to act, to manage in these phases. So it are these are also challenges. What we can do to improve this robo-advisor services through AI are, for example, use them for the data analysis, to gather to screen many instruments, to select the instruments for the portfolios with the best performance indicators. Here we can use the strengths and the opportunities. We can also educate somehow the clients, the users, and also it would be helpful to form partnerships with other organizations to gather AI talent and to improve the documents to further develop them. Also, it's very important to do due diligence for all these regulatory hurdles for example, ESG or the EU AI Act. It's very important that the robo-advisory services, when they adopt AI, try to understand the risks, to adopt the regulatory rules in the artificial intelligence tools, for example, in the reporting, because there are a few rules that say clients have to gather a kind of report every month or every year about the funds, the balance of the allocations, and this can be implemented also through AI based on the investor profile, what knowledge the investor has. So there are these documents that which can be give over to the AI to do the job, and so you can here minimize the costs. Yes, actually, these are the few recommendations for the robo-advisory services. We see that there is value, there is potential for the adoption of AI and robo-advisory services. We see there in other researches that their robo-advisory providers have an underperformance in comparison to traditional advisory, active asset management, for example, or passive ETFs or simple benchmarks. And maybe AI has the potential to reduce costs. And with reducing costs, most of the robo-advisor services that charge about 1 to 2% per annum. It's pretty high. It's lower than active management funds, but these costs also reduce the return of the clients. So by reducing costs through AI, with, for example, personal costs, but also there are many complex and expensive risk management tools which could be replaced by smaller agent tools, for example, deploying all the regulatory steps and processes, the robo-advisors can reduce costs and in the end, maybe also um, reduce the cost for the clients and because reducing all the cost of the clients, you can the total expense ratio. So the return after costs can increase. For future research, we want to test the adoption of AI by using and this is a research I'm currently doing based on a few other papers that are to be published, where we test a small AI tool providing this financial services, and this is built on a few other German robo-advisory using their models to test what the performance is, and what are the costs in respect to the performance, and to see how this can be used also for an actual robo-advisory service provider I'm also in contact with, to maybe implement an MVP test product and run it on a market. Okay, actually, we have also done the recommendations. So this was my actual research here.